C2 Wrestling fans, your boys are here. A Raw review coming your way. Great episode tonight. I want to get into it. But first, I want the fans of C2 Wrestling to go down, comment, like, subscribe, get involved in our videos. We want a lot of interaction. Keep your notifications on. We got a lot of content coming your guys' way. Tonight is just a small piece to that puzzle. What an episode of Monday Night Raw, man. It's laughable. I wish we could go live just by answering this call, because we answered the call laughing about how good this was tonight.
Yeah, we will on special occasions do live post shows. Tonight would have been a great one.
Yeah, tonight would have been a great one. Yeah. A lot going on tonight on the side, so it was a little tough to get done. A review is always going to happen by one of us at least. But man, top to bottom, what are you complaining about?
Okay, I do have a complaint. Let me get a complaint out right away.
Okay, all right.
Because the show was great. We'll get into the good stuff of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But good fucking Lord, Netflix was awful tonight.
Netflix or Netflickering? Yeah, yeah, one of the
dude.
two.
I almost missed the fucking ending because of it.
So I noticed though,
bad.
It kept cutting in and out, yes, but it was only doing so during like the downtime, which was fine. Like right when Kevin Owens came out there, it was good, thank God.
Yeah.
But like coincidental maybe. 4 weeks in, they had no trouble up until tonight. I want to see what the views were on tonight. Maybe I don't know, crazy, but regardless, we were able to get through it for a legitimately stellar episode of Monday Night Raw.
To be fair, they were broadcasting from an absolute dump in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, absolute dump. Yeah, absolute dump.
I'll cut them slack. It better be better next week in Nashville. Yeah. If not, I'll be blood red mad. But we got to talk about the main points of the show, because it's the road to Mania. It is full blown road to Mania, and every show on the road to Mania, the shows are already great. But now even more, it's like you got to watch everything. Every segment matters. What a show.
What a show. Opening the show, none other than our Royal Rumble winner, Jey Uso. And man, that crowd was electric for Jey Uso. Now, I put out a tweet on the C2 account. There was not a person in that arena not cheering for Jey Uso. Everybody yeeting up and down that entire arena for our boy. Now, I don't want to go on a limb here and say we were right, but we were right. Jey Uso was absolutely deserving, absolutely the right choice to win the Royal Rumble. And if that intro to Raw tonight wasn't enough, I don't know how else to prove it to you. When he got in the ring and told him to hit his music again, dude, come on, the crowd went insane.
Yeah, he's incredibly over. We know this. We know story-wise why it makes sense. We know why it is deserving, because this isn't just an overnight thing. This has been going on for months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I texted you. I said it's going to be hilarious when Gunther interrupts this. And Gunther did come out after, a very emotional promo from Jey. And look, if you can't really buy into the story just from that little segment and what they're going to lead up to, I think we'll get Jey confirming that he's going for Gunther. And I think we're going to get like a few weeks of this build of being Gunther beating the piss out of him.
Yeah, I think a few weeks of this build is going to be Gunther just throwing Jey across that arena, Rock Cody in the rain style, Gunther just beating him down. They're really building like the comeback he can do it story with Jey. And I think it's great stuff, man. I really do. I got no complaints. Jay's going to be on SmackDown. He's going to confront Cody. I would like to imagine next week on Raw, he announces Gunther is who he's going after, and we have that match pretty much settled. Chamber's shaping up too, so we can kind of start to predict who Cody's opponent is going to be. And I mean, two guys in the Chamber. It's two great names in the Chamber right now. Come on, this is already a stacked elimination chamber. What else could they do right now to make it any better. It's really as good as it can get right now, in my
Yeah, so we know Cena's in. We saw in
opinion.
the main event after a fire match, Punk is in.
Yeah, fire
Rollins
match.
faces Balor in 2 weeks, I believe they said.
Yeah,
You'd assume Rollins wins there. That brings it to three. Logan faces Rey Mysterio next week. We assume Logan will win that. That'll bring it to four. Two spots will be left. Interesting aspect. Not saying that uh, it's quite obvious what's going to happen, but these are just Raw wrestlers,
hmm
and they gave us the great news tonight that the transfer window is finally over.
Thank
Thank
God.
God.
Thank God. Surprised we
But
didn't
I
start the
would,
show with that.
yeah, but I would venture to guess that SmackDown would have the last two
Yeah.
qualifying matches, maybe, unless they'll have them on Raw in like the last week or something, which I
Yeah.
don't see happening. I would assume the next two SmackDowns have qualifying matches for the men and the women.
I texted it to you as well that the match is shaping up to be Cena Punk, Logan Seth, Drew Priest. I would imagine we get Drew McIntyre and Priest in this match. If not either of them, I mean, if we are sticking it to just Raw guys, maybe we get the freshly transferred AJ Styles in the match. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. That could be part of what sets up AJ and Logan as well going into Mania, since they had a little bit of a moment at the Rumble. Maybe that all means nothing, but two spots left outside of the soon to come qualifying matches. Who else but Drew and Priest or Styles really makes the most sense? I guess you have a small opportunity to highlight Penta, maybe, but I doubt it. He's got some side stuff going on right now. Who else? You
Yeah,
know?
I would have said Braun Breaker, but it seems from his segment tonight, him and Adam Pearce talking about setting up something for him in a actual defending of his title, thankfully. Would have said Chad Gable, but now Chad Gable has left to go on his expedition to get better at facing luchadors. We'll soon see who that person is that is supposedly going to help him. So I don't know. It feels like it would be SmackDown guys because a lot of the big names from tonight, their paths are, if not pretty clear, you have at least a decent idea where they're going for the next few weeks, at the least, all the way up to Mania.
Yeah, I mean, we can start to figure it out now, and there's still some speculation. Logan and AJ had a little bit of a kerfuffle at the Rumble, we'll call it, but Braun kind of interrupted Pierce during the announcement of AJ Styles. Is that a little hint at something there? I mean, Braun versus AJ? Take my money. It's yours. Come on. That's a great matchup. You're going to run it at WrestleMania? I mean, I'm sold on that too. A lot of avenues to go. We even seen the I can't speak. War Raiders had a little bit of a moment with Gable and American Made. Maybe that's kind of the Mania match. Maybe that's shaping up Creed Bros versus War Raiders. If not Mania, some point down the line, regardless. So that's fire. Top to bottom, so much leading into this WrestleMania. It's honestly kind of crazy that this Raw didn't even have Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and the other tag division and the US. There's still so much.
Yeah, there's still so much. You still have the fallout of Drew getting eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to wait on Roman, whatever the situation is. SmackDown, you mentioned all those titles. You have Fatu and Strowman going at it. Like there is so much going on. You mentioned American Made. I want to ask you this question
Uh,
because I don't think it'll be the War Raiders versus American Made at Mania. I think
mm,
that will maybe it's a chamber match. Maybe the Raw tag titles get a chamber match.
okay.
Not a the pay-per-view, not like
Yeah, like
actually. Yeah.
like on the Chamber
Yes.
show. Yeah.
Since the SmackDown tag titles finally just got one. Before Gable left, he said, when I come back, Ivy Nile better have the Intercontinental Championship and Creed Bros better have the tag team championships. It made it pretty clear to me it's either they're both winning or neither of them are winning. And
Yeah.
we're either getting like world's happiest person when Gable gets back, or we're getting like next level military Chad Gable, like worse than when he was slapping Otis and Tozawa in the face.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, it's going down a good path. I would love to see some gold on American made. The women's IC title, it's still pretty fresh, but got to put some life into it, in my opinion, already. I don't think Lyra flipping the belt that quick is that bad of an option, if I'm being honest. Tag titles are also pretty freshly on the War Raiders. They're over. They're great. I wouldn't mind them dropping to the Creed Bros either. They're two guys that can absolutely go. They can rematch it at WrestleMania for all I know. I definitely think that's on the horizon. One of those two paths. Either Gable comes back happier than ever with American Made, or he's got a bone to pick, and maybe he takes it out on the Intercontinental Champion, Braun Breaker. Who knows?
This week's Raw and SmackDown, it's almost like a good spot, but an awkward spot because when you have a show after the Rumble, similar to after Mania, so much happens that the next show can't get to everything.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested in that aspect of taking time, not rushing these things, because we also have to factor in like Alexa Bliss is back.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see her tonight. Who knows if we see her on SmackDown? There were rumors that she was going to be on the Raw brand. AJ obviously just comes back and he doesn't have a segment. They just announced that he's signed back. Jordan Grace is signed to the company. We don't know if
Mm-hmm.
is she on Raw? Is she going to go to NXT? Is she going to SmackDown? Like we really don't know. SmackDown wise, like there hasn't really been much announced for SmackDown. That first show after a big event like the Rumble, it's almost like awkward. It's a massive show, but there's still just not enough time for everything. So it's like you almost have to give it 2 or 3 weeks for some of these things. That's why I'm kind of interested they ended the show as great as they did with Owens and Zayn. I'm surprised it ended this week's show and maybe not like next week's show when maybe it didn't get overshadowed, but you get what I'm saying. There's so many
Yeah.
big moments fresh off the Rumble, all the video packages, whatever. It holds a little bit more weight. So I'm surprised that didn't happen in a week or two.
I mean, the package pile driver, that's a move that takes you out for a little bit. That's a beautiful move by Kevin Owens. I don't think we see Sami Zayn for a couple of weeks. I think that's kind of the stretch, is we can keep Sami off TV. Owens is clearly beat up. He doesn't really have to have a match for a little bit. Seems like that's definitely the route they're going now is Sami versus KO. That's likely a singles mania match to whatever degree it is. Man, make it a Extreme Rules, a hardcore match or something, in my opinion. Those two guys are going to put on an absolute clinic whenever they do. It was great to see that tonight. I had kind of expected something, but I wasn't sure. When Seth came out before the match, all right, I was kind of figuring Seth might come out during the match, honestly, because of his little stuff with Punk. And then he also had some moments with Sami Zayn over the last couple weeks. But they swerved us a little bit. We got Kevin Owens hitting that package pile driver. I think it's great. I absolutely love it.
Of course, I love it. It makes it even more interesting because Zayn obviously has the brewing issues with Cross.
Yes.
And when it first started, it made you think, maybe we do get the Zayn turn. Maybe
Yeah.
he does see the light that Cross wants him to see. And immediately Kevin Owens said, buddy, this boy's staying babyface and I'm trying to break his neck. Like
Yeah.
that got squashed within the hour.
Within the hour. I don't know if it's going to be on SmackDown, but the Kevin Owens promo as to why he did it, Sami Zayn didn't protect me in the ladder match, whatever he says, it's going to be a killer promo, man. The every story right now, from top to bottom on tonight's Raw, was fantastic. Capping it off with a CM Punk match on Monday Night Raw, as you said, an absolutely fire match. They were cooking out there. Ending it off with a moment like that, the crowd loved it. Absolutely killer crowd tonight, all the way around. I don't even know what else there is to talk about that it could be better or change I want going into WrestleMania. Of course, there's avenues of things that would be fantastic, but I can't think of much better than the routes they're going right now with at least everything we saw on Raw tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that I would have, and this is nitpicky, and I've mentioned it to you, I mentioned it in our podcast that we recorded. I would have loved one of the chamber matches to be for a title.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Alec mentioned that on our podcast last week, and I think he was spot on. The men's chamber match is going to be ungodly stacked.
Ungodly. Yeah, it's going to be the
So
craziest rumble,
yeah,
or it's a rumble. I almost said chamber of all time.
yeah. So I understand that being. I think the women should have been for a title, whether it's a mid card title or for Rhea's title, something. It's just again, maybe it's a little nitpicky. I don't love how it's. They said it tonight. They were like the winner of the chamber faces the champion that the Rumble winner doesn't pick. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, boy, does that feel like a second place thing. Like, I know Jay's going to pick Gunther, and technically Cody's title is higher. So it doesn't mean that that's the secondary title.
yeah.
But just saying it, it's like, it kind of loses a little bit of its luster when you say it that way. Like, oh, yeah, whoever this guy doesn't want, this person can face.
Well, whoever wins the chamber is not going to have that kind of deep 6 month blood feud or whatever it may be that we're getting out of the Jay Gunther and Jay winning the Rumble and all that. It is a little bit lackluster. I would prefer one of these chambers to be a title match as well. That is, I guess, one thing I would change if I could. Still, it is tough. Even if they did that, if they had Gunther defend his world title, I mean, you really could. You could just have him defend it, and then Jay still picks Gunther after that, and Cody's in the middle of building up against somebody else, anyways. It's incredible to see, though, really how good everything is surrounding this chamber. Great qualifiers. Again, two still unannounced. Women's chamber is shaping up. We got a little bit of Charlotte and Rhea tonight. Charlotte, I don't know where shopping, but stop shopping there.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking
She,
a
she
little
said,
out
"Hey,
there
whatever
tonight.
Seth Rollins is doing, let me do it."
Yeah, stealing the Seth Rollins gimmick, really. Charlotte winning the Rumble again. We've discussed this a little bit. You'll find out soon on our upcoming podcast. There's other avenues they could have gone, so that's a little bit on the bleaker side, perhaps. We didn't really get much involvement in that tonight. I'm sure we'll get some, maybe women's chamber stuff on Friday, but still, it's crazy to be nitpicking things to complain about when this is only a few years ago. There was a lot to complain about in the world of WWE.
For sure. There's two more things I want to hit on before we get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
One of them will be the New Day that we'll finish on because,
Oh,
again,
yes.
love it. But mentioning Rhea, mentioning the chamber, what is interesting is it felt more laid out that the Mania match will be Rhea versus Io.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is Io loses the qualifying match because of Rhea and the disqualification. My instinct, my instant gut reaction is the final spot. Io is going to get like a second chance match or whatever because
Mm-hmm.
she got screwed, and that's how she gets into the chamber and she wins the chamber. But if she doesn't get into the chamber, I mean, they're setting up Io versus Rhea. Like that clearly seems to be the match that
Mm-hmm.
they set up for, with the assumption Charlotte obviously chooses Tiffany. So I'm very interested how that plays out if Io isn't in the chamber. Is that going to lead to a multi-person match? What is the route if Io isn't in the chamber and they've clearly just set up Rhea versus Io?
I wouldn't really hate it any which way if it ends up leading to Io versus Rio. I can absolutely see a, second chance, fatal 4-way or fatal 5-way, whatever it may be, between all the unqualified contenders. They've done that in the past. It's a little bit, cheap booking, but it can work sometimes. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Making it a multi-woman match could absolutely do so. Who? I mean, do you have Jordan Grace win the chamber? I'd
I'd
be
love
that.
that.
What other options really are there? I mean, I guess there's women all over. Don't get me wrong, but you would need somebody to fit the bill, and there's some star power there. Jordan Grace right now. I think that would be the answer.
Completely agree. I sign me up for that. I mean, the best part about Jordan Grace is she's the freshest because all these matchups are fresh, no matter who
Yeah.
she faces, besides Naomi and some of the NXT people.
Mm-hmm.
But Naomi would be fresh to the WWE audience. But we'll wrap things up here with the New Day. Not gonna lie, I loved for when they were kind of wrestling in like jeans for a little bit. I did actually
Yeah.
kind of like that look. But man, the theme, the arrogance, the attire, the swagger, all of it. It's just like another prime example of these guys know what they're doing. There's no rush on anything. And you just know, like you just look at it and you're like, man, this is gold. And like you mentioned, yeah, it'd be cool for the Creed Bros to get the tag titles. But man, is it obvious
New
you got to
Day.
get those titles on the New Day because
Yeah.
it's just going to get better and better with them.
Yeah, that music hit and everybody kind of, oh, what is this? And then it said New Day across the board, and those fans were booing. New Day is over in a way that Jey Uso is not over in a sense. He's getting boos instead of the cheers they are. But it's incredible stuff to see. I do got to bring up too, it's maybe wishful thinking, but for any of you out there that had captions on watching the New Day segment, is that true?
So I did also see a tweet that that was the title of their old
Old song.
song
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Jim Johnson did create. I don't know. But the song sounded great.
Yeah. Song
Whatever,
was great. Yeah.
whoever
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
it, like
Yeah.
this is my thing, people rip CFO and Def Rebel for the music that they've made. If something's good, I'll say it's good. If they made that, great
Everybody
job.
has a couple like bangers. There's still some great, like, I mean, maybe not as many as Jim Johnson put out, but CFO has one or two that stuck. So does Def Rebel. Jim Johnston being back would be incredible, but that was kind of where I was leading, is that it's probably not that. It was probably just their old theme that he produced and it was popping up that way. Wishful thinking. It's just funny playing off the back of the Rumble, and a lot of the music you don't really understand anymore. Interesting to see. I know we're just wrapping this up, but I do have one thing to bring up. It is kind of unfortunate, actually, just thinking it through, doing this review. AJ Styles transfers to Raw, as we had mentioned, separated from the Motor City Machine Guns. Man, I would have
Oh, I didn't even
loved to
think of
see that.
that.
Yeah, I would have
Oh
loved.
no. Oh, I didn't even think of that. You just ruined my
Yeah,
night.
I didn't mean to ruin the night.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. I needed that. I really needed it. AJ Styles, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley. I needed that interaction. Hopefully, we can still get at a point, but man, kind of disappointing.
I didn't even think of that. Oh, that is upsetting. Now I gotta wait for the next endless transfer window for them to cross paths. I mean, when they do, you want to talk
Electric.
about like the CTD moment of the year, moment of his life is
Yeah.
that backstage segment where AJ turns and they're both standing there. It'll be like remember when The Rock and Triple H, the one that Meltzer thought was a recent video was from
Yeah.
10 years ago. That
Yeah.
little stare down, that's what it's going to look like to me. That's
Yeah.
that's what that stare down's going to be. Oh
Yeah.
man, you just ruined my night.
Yeah. I didn't mean to ruin the night. I had to put that out there, though. Kind of unfortunate, but it only builds to it a little bit more when it does happen down the line.
Yeah, and what they're both doing, what Styles seemingly will be doing, and what the Machine Guns are currently in, are so great either way. So no
Mm-hmm.
complaints here. We've got a ton of stuff coming though. We've got our podcast that drops every Thursday. Raw reviews, recaps, SmackDown reviews, recaps, prediction videos, live reactions, you name it. So subscribe, turn on notifications if you're new, and get down in the comments section. Let us know what you think. If you were out there dissing Jey Uso winning the Rumble, we'll take the apology in the comments.
Yeah. Put it down below. Try and argue us. You won't win that one. Jey Uso is your 2025 Rumble winner. For now, Snowden, CTD, C2 Wrestling.